As we all know, change is inevitable. Sometimes it comes out of nowhere, leaving us to pick up the pieces and navigate our way through the unknown. Other times, it's a decision we've made to step into a bigger version of ourselves or find more joy or fulfillment in our lives. Day by Day book was designed to help you face the discomfort of those shifts in life that are pushing you to that next level of growth and learning. It's a guided journal with a simple tracking method to manage your daily well-being during challenging times, setting you up for success no matter what life throws your way. Join our community of over 15,000 changemakers and get started on your daybook journey today. The time is now to step into change to create a life you love. To get your Day by Day book, go to livedaybyday.com.
Most stories come from your past, and the kicker is most of us are living out rules we never consciously agreed to. 9 out of 10 times this story no longer applies, and it's up to you to change the narrative so you can move past it. So how do you flip the script?
Welcome to Journeys Through Change, a podcast that inspires women to let go of the fear and say yes to possibility. I'm your host, Noelle Van, an author, creator, and empowerment coach who spent years in corporate America helping innovators and leaders ride the waves of change with ease and grace. I now work with women to step into change and unleash the power they have to create a life they love. Whether you're contemplating a change in your career, relationship, health, lifestyle, or anything in between, nothing's off the table. I'll be offering up simple insights to help you manage the ups and downs of change and sharing interviews with successful women who took a leap of faith to create the life they knew they were meant to live. Sharing their wisdom, advice, and all the juicy lessons they learned along the way. So get cozy in your favorite easy chair and let's get started.
I want to start today with something to think about. The greatest obstacle in your path right now might not be your job, your finances, or even your schedule. It might be the story you've been telling yourself about who you are and what's possible for you. In this episode, we'll uncover how to recognize those sneaky stories that keep us stuck and give you real tools to rewrite them so you can move forward powerfully and unapologetically. Now, first off, I want to define what I mean by story. A story is a belief or narrative your brain created to explain a past experience, and now it's become your default filter. It's literally something you made up to make sense of what could have taken place years ago. Now, these stories often sound logical, but are rooted in fear, shame, or outdated self-concepts. And because they feel so real to us, they have a tricky way of getting lodged in our psyche and accepted as truth. Here are a few examples of these stories. If I fail, everyone will see I was a fraud. Or, I'm too old to start over. Or, success is selfish. I need to stay behind the scenes. Now, the important thing to acknowledge is that these aren't facts. They're actually interpretations. And most of them were formed when we were trying to stay safe, not successful. So what are some of the symptoms of staying stuck in an unhelpful narrative or old story? Here are some indicators. You feel a strong emotional reaction to risk, visibility, or feedback. This could either be a belief you formed in your early years or from a backlash you may have felt in the past when you took a risk. Or you keep having the same conflict at work, in relationships, or with yourself. This could be an indication of a trigger from something or someone in your past. You downplay your wins or dismiss compliments. This could be a replay of how you may have been taught to react to positive feedback. Sometimes we hear the voice of maybe a parent or a friend telling us, don't get too full of yourself. You procrastinate even on things you deeply care about. This is just a sign of avoidance, not laziness. And it could be based on your fear of failure. And lastly, you say things like, I should just be grateful, or it's not that bad. This one can come from beliefs that formed early on about ourselves and what we deserve. Another message we may have heard and started to believe early on. Now, these are merely behaviors that are deeply rooted in how you feel about yourself and your capabilities, and are a result of unfinished business in your past. The crazy thing is how often these narratives feel like our reality and can be born from something as simple as a parent's reaction to our behavior, maybe when we were little, or a negative experience we had in the past that taught us to feel this way. Now, how people react to us, especially as we're maturing and forming our own opinions of ourselves and our abilities, has such a deep impact on how we view the world in our adult life. So a good question to ask yourself is, what's the loop I keep finding myself in? Identifying it is key, and then recognizing that this loop is usually powered by an old story. So how do we spot this story? Step 1 is identify a pattern. Ask yourself a simple question. What keeps happening in my career, relationships, or confidence levels that feels frustrating or familiar? An example could be you keep getting overlooked for a particular role or job despite being qualified. And the pattern there could be playing it safe and not advocating for yourself and staying silent. Now, step 2 is track the emotion. So ask yourself, what emotions show up when I think about change or taking a bold step? And an example of this could be feeling anxious before, say, a networking event or pitching your services. And your emotion could be fear of rejection or potentially being seen as, quote unquote, too much. The next is write it out. So ask, if this fear could speak, what would it say? Write a paragraph starting with, the story I've been telling myself is ... This will start to help you identify its root and be able to unearth its origin. And lastly, rewrite the narrative by asking yourself, where did this story come from? And is it still true today? Now, remember, most stories come from your past. So they could come from childhood. That could be teachers, parents. It could be corporate conditioning, or it could also be societal norms. And this is true especially for women. And the kicker is, most of us are living out rules we never consciously agreed to. 9 out of 10 times this story no longer applies, and it's up to you to change the narrative so you can move past it. So how do you flip the script? It's simple. You take your old story and turn it into a new truth. One example is telling yourself, if I show up too boldly, people will reject me. A new story could be, when I show up fully, I magnetize the right people and repel the wrong ones, and that's power. Another example, you may say, I have to do more to prove myself. And a new narrative around that would be, my worth is not measured in output. My value already exists. I just need to own it. So here's a simple exercise. Complete this sentence. The new story I'm choosing is X. Write it in your journal, say it out loud, put it on a Post-it note and stick it to your bathroom mirror, whatever it takes. Start to train your brain to think differently about the situation and the emotional pull it has on you. Once it's identified and reframed, the self-sabotage will stop. Now, here's the truth. We all have stories, but when those stories start to define our identity or limit our growth, it's time to rewrite them. Spot the narrative that's been keeping you in neutral and give yourself full permission to shift into something that supports your growth, joy, and fulfillment. You will be amazed at the magic you create. That's it for now. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to the Journeys Through Change podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or really wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Be sure to follow us and leave a review if you enjoyed this episode so more women like you can find us and join in on the fun.